Good day, Kavibal, and welcome to our Managing Learning at Home webinar series. For the discussion today, the topic will be on positive discipline at home through executive functions development. Before we begin, take note of the following reminders. Make sure you are registered to the webinar to have your e-certificate of participation. Visit certificate.vibalgroup.com to generate your proof of attendance. Place your questions on the comment box allotted during the session and they will be addressed by our speaker later on. Share the video using hashtag LearnAsOnePH as our official hashtag to our Vibal webinars. Experience learning, Kavibal. And now, to proceed with our webinar this afternoon, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speaker today. He is a consultant and evaluator for K-12 Philippine Basic Education, a curriculum and academic consultant of Sisters of Mary. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Brother Roderick M. Aguirre.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday, so we say thank God it's Friday, and apologize again. There's a possibility of internet connection interruption every now and then because it's about to rain and there's a thunderstorm here in Cavite. I'm not sure with the other place in Cavite, but here in my place, it's already starting to pour. So there's a possibility. You know what happens to our connection when it rains too, so it becomes more static. So this is my last leg of my webinar for this month, and this is more for the parents and for teachers how we can help our students develop positive discipline and inculcate in them self-discipline so that they become more self-propelling students in the long run though. But we need to understand that as we go through supervising and giving guidance to our students, and especially for parents at home, how to guide our students there as they go along with their academic schedule, we must be able to strike a balance between the responsibilities for their responsibilities at home and the responsibility for their academic tasks. The point here, ladies and gentlemen, is that we need our students to become more adaptable to lots of responsibilities because they need to realize that as they grow older, they will take on a lot of responsibilities. And what way to start? What better way to start is to start with young kids, and then school age level of students so that they become more adaptable and flexible to situations. And this afternoon I'm going to continue on my topic for this week on mostly on discipline. I already started this week on developing self-discipline Monday, and then social emotional development, and I will end my session for this week on discipline, basically on the development executive functions of our students, of our children at home, with the guidance of course of our teachers. So let me share to you my PowerPoint presentation so that we will know how we're going to go about our discussion for this afternoon. By the way, if you want a copy of the handouts, just request from my mediators or from Vibal a copy of the handouts, and I have already provided them a copy of the handouts so that you can review the things that I have discussed. Nonetheless, you can still review and rewatch this video. Even if it's no longer live, it will still be recorded and will be uploaded here on YouTube, so you can go back to it every now and then. So I would like to give the focus of the context of our discussion today. It's more of self-discipline, how we can come up with a better way to help our students become holistic individuals while learning the academics at home and being individuals and being part of their family with other responsibilities add on to their academic life. So as these will be our outline for this afternoon. So again, this will be my last type of PowerPoint presentation, and by September, this coming September next week, I'll be adding a new design and a new part of my discussion. So stay tuned. By next week, you'll be able to see another novel part of my presentation. Of course, it's an add-on to my presentation. So just let's just proceed. So we still focus on positive discipline at home and developing. We can do this by developing learners' executive functions at home. Right. So teachers out there, this information is more important for our parents to know. And I know that it's best that you know all of this, but since most of our students will be at home, not most of our students, but our students will be at home and they will be supervised by their parents and the primary caregivers or whoever are present at home to supervise the learning and the studies of their students, of these children. It is very important for us to include. I'm highly suggesting that we include the idea of how we can help our parents develop self-discipline, social emotional development, and executive functions development among our students while they're at home. So we're going to start with an introduction and define boxing myths about discipline and self-discipline, just four common myths about positive discipline. And then we proceed to discussion. It's a lengthy discussion though, but I tried to cut it down because um, a lot of researchers would give us 12 executive functions, some would 7, some would 8, but I've been following the 8 executive functions in my profession. So we will go through just a little bit of recall of the definition of positive discipline, although I have been defining this concept since Monday and Tuesday. Sorry, just Monday morning and Monday evening. So you may want to, if you want more understanding of discipline per se and social emotional development, you may want to go back to my webinar just this Monday. And then we go through what are the executive functions and its importance to the lives of our students, or basically our lives as individuals living in a society like ours. And then we proceed to the last question, which is how do teachers and parents help learners develop executive functions while learning at home? So it is more of a collaborative effort between the teachers and the parents. I would like to emphasize that the teachers must have support coming from the management and not just the other way around. We need to come up with a more inverted design of managing learning at school or right now. So instead of the teachers adjusting to the demands of the school, I think it will be best if we, for the time being, readjust this design by having the management or the school management readjust to or adjust to the teachers, especially that the new demands are especially focused on changes of attitude and changes of mindset of teachers for distance education and online teaching. All right, so we will have an open forum. So please, if you have questions as we go along, you may want to key in your comments and your questions on the comments box below, and then we will duly answer that after I have discussed everything, and then we'll have conclusions and applications. So let's begin. So let's have an introduction and let's have the 4 common basic myths about discipline and self-discipline and all about, rearing children. So let's begin. Just 4 though, just 4. Let's begin with number 1. A lot of people would say that children learn self-discipline automatically, and a lot of parents would just allow kids to do whatever they want and then hope that as they grow older, they will become more disciplined. I hear a lot of parents telling me that, no, mga bata pa kasi yan, talagang malilikot yan, so inayaan lang talaga namin yan. Pero pag tumanda yan, maging disiplinado rin yan. I beg to disagree, all right? Children do not learn self-discipline automatically. It is explicitly and implicitly taught to them. Our children, our students are not born with the concept of discipline. In fact, if you look at it, they are born with the concept of just, having their own way, of doing things what they want. So we need as adults supervising the growth and development of our children is the idea of striking a balance within our children's wants and what they ought to have. So that's a balance between ought and want. But more often than not, our children do not know what they ought to have. A lot of children would spend more more percentage of hours playing video games, playing their toys, and play just not saying there will be no learning there, but then again, there's what we call also as academic learning that they need to focus on. Now, if our parents and teachers would not provide our students with a structure in terms of schedule, then our students will not would not learn how to come up with ways of how to follow time management. All right. So again, children learn self-discipline automatically is busted. All right? So hindi pwede mga magulang po lang dyan dito po sa Pilipinas o kung saan man po kayong lupalop ng mundo. Um, it's an active role that we have in helping our kids, our children develop discipline. And it's a constant reminder and it's a constant everyday hour, or even hours and minutes of constantly guiding and supervising our students to develop self-discipline. And it's a never-ending task. And if you think you want an end to this task, then I highly suggest that you just think of having one or two children. Or better yet, do not have one. Then let's have myth number 2. Discipline is only for children with behavioral issues. A lot of, again, parents and students would only come up with discipline, self-discipline or positive discipline program for students who have behavior problems or overt behavior problems. Remember that even silent students have also problems on self-discipline. Just because a child is quiet and silent does not necessarily mean that the child is disciplined. In fact, sometimes more often than not, students who are gregarious, sorry for that, gregarious are more into learning to becoming more disciplined because at least we are able to see what errors and mistakes they commit and we are able to guide them to become, positively better. Now, for those students who are, shy and not showing off their thoughts, their emotions, there's a possibility it's difficult for us to guide them. Kaya nga sabi ko sa mga magulang, mag-ingat po kayo sa mga bata na palagi yung sinasabihin na huwag kayong tahimahimik kayo, palaging tumahimik. Kasi nga pag hindi nagsasalita ang mga bata, mas mahirap po natin malaman kung ano nangyayari sa utak nila. So I'd rather have children who speak their mind so that I would know and kids and students who would show off their behavior because at least I could know how to come in and be able to help them and guide them and come up with a better program, self-discipline program for them. So, huwag po natin tatakutin ng bata na palaging tumahimik kasi for us, ang idea ng self-discipline ay palaging tahimik at tango lang ng tango. Alright? So, discipline is only for children with behavioral issues is busted. Alright? Let's proceed to the last two. The third myth is you'll spoil your baby if you pick up whenever he cries. A lot of parents, use a lot of parents, especially the new young parents, have fight against fight over carrying the baby. Some parents would say that, or even the grandparents would say that stop picking up the baby if he or she is crying because you're spoiled the baby. No. Our babies and children do not know yet vocabulary and they do not know how to communicate to us yet, and that's why they communicate to us adults via emotions, and these emotions are via crying, laughing, or moping, and all of this for us very irritating emotions and behaviors of children. But because we must understand, because for lack of vocabulary, they're not able to communicate their thoughts to us and what they're feeling. So they're just using this behavioral and emotional manifestation. So as parents or as adults, we need to understand that we need to at least have an idea of what a type of cry or a type of behavior would say something like, iba kasi ang iyak na naihi, iba po ang iyak na nagutom, iba po iyak. I mean, I think a lot of mothers would understand the difference between ang iyak ng anak nila. So I think it's not just for the mothers, also for the educators and for the fathers, for us to understand this nonverbal cues. So the first thing that we should do is to pick up and be able to communicate with the child. All right. And then once we're able to identify what their needs are and like giving them the words like, are you hungry? Are you feeling bad? Do you feel something else? Are you you put words, you supply certain words that they have not acquired yet, and by doing that, you are teaching them also abilities to be able to communicate because you're supplying them with words. All right, so picking the babies or picking the child up is busted. Okay, in fact, hugging a person or touching a person is a very therapeutic activity for most students, but of course we must limit that. Especially right now, kids at home will be having a lot of stress, coping with a lot of changes in their lives. So you know, a little bit of hug, a little bit of every now and then, and a pat to the back would do would make them feel better. And the last myth is bribing or rewarding your children is a good idea to make them behave. It's not a good idea. It's only telling your kids that you do things because you can get something out of it. All right. Although there are some activities that you would like to reward them. All right. So it's not a good idea if you do it all the time, because a lot of parents would use rewards and bribing as a way of getting out of parenting or for teachers to discipline their students. So what we can do perhaps is do more of a positive reward, like prolonging their prolonging the activity that they love to do most, like instead of making them watch a lot of television on Netflix that they love to watch, you can ask them, you can watch that if you finish your task first, and so on and so forth. So it makes them the idea that they can enjoy the pleasures of the tasks that they love to do if they do and focus more attention first to things that are worthwhile and more important and more pressing to do first than that. All right. So therefore, bribing or rewarding your children is a good idea to make them behave is busted. We have to be active on their development. All right, so let's begin with our discussion and let's understand the concepts of positive discipline via executive functions development. So let's answer the first question. Let's have just, have the following questions and identify if you have problems with this. Do you have trouble starting or completing tasks? Do you have problems starting and or completing tasks? All right. Do you have difficulty prioritizing tasks? All right. Do you easily forget what you just heard or read? Do you have trouble following directions or a sequence of steps? Do you panic when rules or routines change? Or it's probably scheduled to. Do you have trouble switching focus from one task to another? Or you need to finish one first and then rest and then do something else? Or you have difficulty doing multitasking, all right? Do you get overly emotional and fixate on things, like you get too complacent and you don't want to adjust to things since nasanay ka na sa ganito, ganito na lang talaga? Or in a break, do you have trouble organizing your thoughts, like you don't know where to start, especially for doing things you don't know where to begin? And number 9, do you have trouble keeping track of your belongings? Like you forgot where it is, and then you bother a lot of people helping you find things, and you get so irritated and shout at people, and yet all of a sudden it was all your fault, and you just put it somewhere else that you forgot where you put it. Next, number 10, do you have trouble managing your time? Like kulang ka palagi ng oras kahit binawasan ka na ng activities, marami ka pa rin. So parang feeling mo marami na. If you have one of these questions that you said no, that you said yes to, then you have problems with executive functions. And we're going to identify which of one of those, but I'm not going to say that's your problem because it's not a face-to-face interaction, but it's only for you to find out for yourselves if you have problems with this. And this is what I'm trying to say to you guys. Part of positive discipline is modeling to the students what discipline should be. And if you lack this executive functions in you, then it's difficult for you to make your students and your kids develop executive functions. And you need to understand that positive discipline, its core is modeling the behavior and not necessarily giving them punishments and rewards, but showing to your kids and to the students that if you want them to behave how you want them to behave, then you should behave as such as well. And let's find out if you have problems with those, right? So Let's have first answer the question first. What is positive discipline? So positive discipline is an approach that rejects the use of violence as a teaching tool. So I grew up with corporal punishment at home. Hindi pwedeng walang first warning, walang second warning. Pag sinabing mali, mali talaga. At ang ginagawa ay papaluin ka. My mom would hang me, ilalagay niya ako sa sako at ibibitin niya ako sa kusina namin. Especially when I'm so too spoiled, too spoiled, and I don't, share my toys with my brothers. And if they get my things, I get so irritated, and I shout at them, and then I use, curse words, and my mom would still get angry with me, and then she would, punish me definitely. I don't know if it was good or not, but during that time, it was the way it was how we were disciplined. But I turned out right. But I realized that there are better ways to, time changes, and there's a better way to discipline our kids instead of physically punishing them. So positive discipline is also a program designed to teach young people to become responsible, respectful, and resourceful members of their communities. So the core of positive discipline is modeling and then giving them tasks at a very young age. But when we give them tasks, it must be age appropriate. So it's very important for you, parents out there and for teachers out there, to know the developmental milestones of our students that they go through, so that we would know what are the appropriate activities and what are the appropriate responsibilities for the age group. A lot of students and a lot of children complain so much about the responsibilities because they see that and they feel that these responsibilities are not appropriate for them, or probably they were not given the model, or they did not see that from the parents, from their parents, or from their teachers, or from their older brothers and sisters. And it's very important for us to inculcate and inculcate to our children that that they need to follow certain rules and regulations in a certain environment. So adaptability is one of the ideas of positive discipline. All right, na sila dapat na nag-adjust. Now, rather than enforce good behavior through fear, the teacher or parents play the role of mentor and guide, and then they make a long-term investment in a child's development. And one of the things that we need to help our parents do and for teachers do is that if they lack the executive functions, and they think that and I think it's not important. No, we have to orient the parents that executive functions are very important to help our children develop positive discipline while learning at home, especially at home, and that the role of the parents is very important because they become the role models of how to behave well in different situations. Remember that values are not taught. They're mostly caught, especially in situations where kids observe their parents behave. Okay, so that's basically a definition of positive discipline. How do we do this? So there are three ways we can come up with how we can, instill positive discipline among our students. One would be preventive discipline, meaning learning management that sets schools and parents, caregivers, and teacher expectations. Meaning, simula't simula pa lang, sabihin mo na kung ano ang mga expectations nyo sa bata, ano dapat ng ginagawa. We have converted the rules and regulations from negations to affirmation, or from negations using do not, instead of using statements that do not eat junk foods. So what you do is you replace that with a more positive statement like eat vegetables, fruits, and so on and so forth to make you healthy. All right, and like sino dapat may model ka, kung sino dapat may idol sila. Ang ginagawa ng mother ko nun is, gusto mo ba maging kagaya ng Hardy Boys? I was so engrossed when I was a kid. I was engrossed with the novels of Hardy Boys and the way they, solve crimes. And my mom, I hated vegetables. Definitely. I really hated vegetables. And I hate sports. I just wanted to stay at home and read a lot of books. I was a bookworm. And my mother, knowing what I wanted, who I idolized most, especially on the characters of the book, she would say, you know what? The Hardy Boys became intelligent and they can solve crimes. It's because they eat a lot of vegetables. Of course, as a kid, ha, ganun ba talaga? O sige, kahit hindi ko gusto yung pampalaya, mga gulay na yan, sige, kain ng kain kasi gusto kong maging kagaya ng mga Hardy Boys, the ones that I know. So, it is very important for preventive discipline. Anong ayaw mong, anong gusto mong, anong expectations mo? Kaya expectations, okay? What we want our kids, okay? I want you to wake up, okay? Wake up at this time, take a bath, brush your teeth, and do not go to bed. Do not go to bed without brushing your teeth or taking a bath. Huwag mag-negate. Gawin mo pong affirmative mga statements. And it becomes more positive. And then once you said that, do not just, let your kids do it on your own. Kailangan mo supervise. Okay, 7 o'clock. So may alarm dapat. Oh, it's already 8 o'clock. So come on, let's go to the toilet or to the comfort room or wherever you brush your teeth, and then let's brush your teeth together, and so forth. So preventive discipline is also giving your students or children expectations, but then again, it's guiding them and showing them how it's done. Okay. Next would be supportive discipline. Supportive discipline is learning management that imposes the consequence of based behavior. Like, I know it's affirmative already, but you need to, anchoring those statements, affirmative statements of expectations to their idols. So you have to know who, you need to know the likes and dislikes of your kids, and the kids, what your kids are into right now, so that you would know who to attach to those statements with. And then for supportive discipline, you need to teach your students that if they violate, if they do not follow these expectations or meet these expectations, there will be certain consequences, like limiting TV watch. Pero wag niyong gagamitin po ang punishment o pagbawas ng oras sa pagkain. Yung mga basic needs po, hindi pwede natin gamitin yun as punishment or consequence. Like, hindi ka kakain ng lunch, wag yun. Kasi kailangan po ng bata yun. Hindi ka pwede matulog, wag yun. Basta, ang atin po ay yung wag po, more of their pleasure than of their basic needs. So support discipline is focusing more on limiting, as a consequence, limiting of things they love to do, but not on their basic needs. O hindi ka magsusot ng paborito mong damit, hindi ka kakain ng paborito mong food, no, don't do that. It has a long-term effect on kids. It's on the idea of pupunta ka ngayon sa idea at konsepto ng deprivation. Okay, wag po yun. Next would be corrective discipline. So supportive is consequences, na kung anong sinabi mo na mga expectations sa kanila, pag hindi nila na-meet, dapat merong karampatang consequences. Hindi pwede kasi na nagkamali yung bata, hindi nila sunod ng expectations, okay lang. Hindi pwede ka doon. Life is not like that. Life is always having having responsibilities, and if you're not able to accomplish your responsibility, there will be consequences. We want our kids to know that if they do not do their part, they need to face the consequence, whether it's positive or negative. So it's both reward and negative consequence. Corrective discipline is learning management that sets models of desirable behavior. So ito po sinasabi ko na ngayon. Kung sa preventive discipline, inangkla mo ang mga expectations mo sa kanilang mga idol. Pagdating sa corrective discipline, kung anong pinag-usapan ninyo with the kids, sa mga estudyante ninyo, dapat sinusunod nyo. So sa utak ng bata, kasi sabi niya, bawal mali. Do not be late to school. Dapat ang nakalagay nun ay come to school at exactly 7 o'clock. Ganun, para affirmative siya. Eh, si teacher late. Okay, go online or go, we will start our online lecture at exactly 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. So 8 o'clock, si teacher pala ay dumating pala, nag-go live siya 8:15, late siya ng 15 minutes or 5 minutes. And so hindi pwedeng ganon. The teacher's always ahead of our students. The parents are always ahead of our students. So whatever expectations we impose on our children, our students, those expectations must be modeled by the adults and the primary caregivers at home. So pakisabi yan sa mga magulang teachers out there that it's very important that our parents and the primary caregivers should be one with the expectations that we have set for them. But be careful, the expectations must be realistic and more practical, right? So with that, we're done with the question number 1. Let's proceed to question number 2. What are executive functions? All right, so time check, so we're at 2:30. We still have about an hour to go. Very good, that's a lot of enough time. So what are executive functions? So the executive functions are a set of mental skills, okay? Ibig sabihin, lahat ng pagkatuto ng mga bata, their behavior, their emotional attitude, their behavioral attitude comes from what we call as their cognition or mental skills. You may want to go back to my discussion on Monday and last week on mindsets, on social emotional development and self-discipline. So these are all connected together, and I have put them together here. The executive function is a set of mental skills that include three three sets of mental skills. Number one would be working memory. I already have a session on this in working memory through graphical representations. You may want to review that. And then we need to help our students on simple activities at home, like doing working memory activities. What my mom did is we played Scrabble, and we have a lot of board games. All right, hide and seek is also one working memory to a working memory activity that you can do at home. Games and play is a good way to do that. All right. Ay, sorry. Nung panahon kasi namin, meron kaming, yung card. I forgot kung anong tawag doon, yung may mga helicopter, may mga tanks, and so on and so forth. Tapos, binabasa namin mga specifications, tapos nag-aagawan kami kung sino ang mas mataas. So, kung sino ang mas mataas, kukunin yung card na yan, and so on and so forth. So, these are things that we can do. It helps in the working memory. So, we can come up with educational games. Where games, you have we have Monopoly, we have Snakes and Ladders. Chinese checkers is also good. Dama, ano pa ba? Chess. Okay? My dad played a lot of chess, so kami magkakapatid ko ay naglalaro ng chess. And then my mom, bata pa lang kami, elementary pa lang kami, tinuruan na kami agad na mag-typewriting keying kami. Typewriter pa lang na yan, so tinuruan kami ng abilisan kami nun. So we have a typewriter at home. So ang ginagawa ng mother ko is tinuturuan kami ng key na a quick brown fox jump over the lazy dog near the bank of the river. The quick brown fox jump over the quick brown fox jump over the lazy dog near the bank of the river. So it helps in our working memory too. And then of course, kinoconnect yun sa aming mga physical activities. So magkakaroon ng brain and hand coordination. So it's very good activity. I thought at that time we thought it was parusa sa amin ng mga magulang sa amin. Parusa. Pero as we go on, nalalaman namin, ay, mabuti pala tinuruan kami ng mother namin. Ito palang kailangan nun. Kids wouldn't know what that they're doing are important not just now, but in the future. Okay? Hindi alam ng bata. They would not see the importance of what they're doing right now. They will see us as income, as a hindrance to what they want to do. But as parents and as students and as teachers, we need to impose something that they need. Kaya nga, want versus ought. Striking a balance is very important. Another one is flexible thinking as part of executive functions, that our students are able to think that, tama ba ako? What we call as reflective analysis, like helping our students to analyze whether sino may mali dito, ikaw ba o siya? Kung siya, so hindi dapat tayo pumapanig agad sa mga away-away ng mga bata. A lot of parents would do is that ang away ng mga bata, naging away ng mga magulang. Hindi, dapat tayo hindi pumapanig. Parents must realize that hindi natin tinuturuan ng bata ng tamang flexible thinking if nakita nila na ang mga magulang nila ay agad nag-judge kung sino talaga ang tama at mali. Knowing who's right and who's wrong is analyzing it, not blaming and not pinpointing easily on someone else. Okay, next would be self-control or self-discipline, which I talked about just this Monday, so we want to review that. So that's part of executive functions. So our students now would be able to know what's important, what things are to prioritize, like what are they supposed to do first on Monday? Are they going to study or are they going to play? So alam nila kung anong importansya, anong mga activities niya for Monday at anong activities niya pag Friday or pag Saturday para makita na ng difference. So we need to give them, very good schedule. Okay? Or British, we go to schedule. All right? Next would be, we use the skills, the executive functions, every day to learn, work, and manage daily life. So we need to strike a balance between, household chores, responsibilities, and then studies. Hindi pwede ngayon pong pandemic na to at ang mga bata nasa bahay lang, sasabihin nyo, okay ha, walang gagawin ng mga bata. Hindi pwede maglaro. Pag Monday hanggang Friday, walang laro. walang activity sa bahay kundi nakafocus ng pag-aaral, hindi pwede. Hindi ganun ang buhay. Wala pong tao sa buhay na ito, walang combination of personal responsibilities, work responsibilities, and family responsibilities. So bata pa lang dapat ma-realize niya, hindi pwedeng ganon. Dapat may responsibility ako para sa sarili ko, paano gusto kong gawin. May responsibility ako sa school ko para sa aking studies and my learning, and responsibility to help my parents and my brothers at home. These are positive discipline. Hindi pwedeng hindi natin bibigyan ng yung daddy ko kasi, yung grandfather ng mga pamangkin ko, isa yan sa mga kalaban ko at kaaway ko palagi. Na-spoil kasi, ang sabi niya palagi sa akin, bata pa kasi yan, hindi pa niya alam gagawin. Sabi ko, bata pa lang dapat marunong ng magwalis. Ipapakita dapat. Hindi dapat inuutusan lang. Tapos pag hindi ginawa, daldal lang galit ng galit. Sabi ko, nagagalit kayo kasi pinapagawa niyo sa bata, tapos hindi niya magawa-gawa, kayo nang gagawa. Dahil hindi niyo pinakita. Dan unang pinakita muna, dahil nadyan lang siya nakatingin, tapos ikaw gumagawa. The second time or third time na ginawa mo yun, sabay na kayong gagawa. O sige, ikaw na maghugas. Nanonood si daddy o nanonood si mommy. O next time, ikaw na ha. So there's a gradual release of responsibility. Yung sinabi mo expectation, binigay mo responsibility, biglang binigay mo. Tapos nagkabasag-basag mga pinggan, lahat naman sabi mo, wag na nga, ako na lang gagawa. Hindi mo pinakita kung paano. These are skills. Even if they are mental skills, they are still skills. And like any other skills, they need to be done every day. It becomes a habit, and becomes a habit, becomes a way of life. Ganun ang structure nun. Okay? Modeling, ipakita paano gawin araw-araw, maging habit ng bata. Done. Sana. Also, we need to understand that kids or individuals having trouble with executive functions can make it hard to focus, follow directions, and handle emotions among other things. Okay? Ito yung mga bata na sa public, nagkakaroon ng tantrums, pag may gustong pabili, silang nasusunod, yun yung mga magulang, and so on and so forth. Hindi pwedeng gano'n. Alright? Hindi alam dapat ng mga bata na kung kailan at anong mga sitwasyon na pwede silang mag-demand sa mga parents. We need to make our students submit to authority. Bata pa lang dapat alam nila na meron na ganun na talagang relationship. There's what we call authority and someone who's to follow authority. And parents, I know that you want to establish, a friend-like relationship with your kids. Yes, be friendly with your kids. No one's saying it's bad thing. Be friendly, but do not treat them like your friends. Do not treat them like your barkada. You must have a delineation between being a parent and them being children, or being teachers and being students. Hindi pwedeng pati mga teachers ko binabarkada ang mga estudyante, especially for high school. I made a mistake on that too. Nagkaroon ako talagang hirap ako ngayon bumalik sa relationship ng teacher at saka estudyante dahil nga joke na, barkada na, kasama kami sa mall, sa sine. It was difficult. So pagdating sa please do not cross the line. Be friendly, but do not treat your children or your students as katropa or kabarkada. Still maintain what we call as authority symbol. That's the core of positive discipline. And being an authority means whatever you impose on your kids and your students, ginagawa mo rin. Not hollow modeling. All right? Let's now proceed to question number 3, which is basically the last question on the executive functions, and how do teachers and parents help learners develop executive functions while learning. And I'll be using the 8 model of the 8 executive functions model. Although out there are 7 model executive functions, and there's a model for 12. But I've been using 8 in the activities and in the activities and in designs for schools that I design, curriculum designs that I create for some schools that I've handled. So let's just have those. We have responsive vision. We have to teach our kids responsive visioning na may mga bagay-bagay, may time sa pagsasalita at may time sa pakikinig. Okay? Hindi pwedeng sabay-sabay na nagsasalita. Not just that, dapat tugtog ng bata na kailan sila pwedeng gawin ang gusto nilang gawin. Alright? May mga tamang oras at tamang lugar for that. Okay? Hindi pwedeng sila palaging nasusunod. So responsive vision is one of those executive functions. So dapat mga magulang, kayo ang nasusunod. hindi ang mga bata. Kaya mga teachers, dapat malaman ng mga estudyante na kayo ang nasusunod. Alright? Pero hindi kailangan po kayo ay palaging nagagalit. Just be firm. Just be firm. But not angry. Not a terrorist type of teacher. Next would be working memory. Students who are able to hang on to information so that they can work on it and basically paying attention to this. So working students be able to pay attention to activities and responsibilities. And I already have a session on this. You may want to go back to my session on developing working memory. Memory skills by graphic organizers or graphic representations. Next with emotional control and task organization. So emotional control is now on self-discipline. So if our students have self-discipline, they know how to act. They know when to say something, all right? They know that hindi sila pwedeng umiyak na lang anytime they like, okay? By teaching them, way to communicate their emotions and feelings. Next will be task organization, like by giving them the responsibilities, they are able to do things because ang una muna nakaschedule pero habang tumatagal, they know that's part of their responsibility. And then organization, teaching them how to organize things by having a checklist or having a good schedule for the week and then sticking to it. And then planning, prioritizing, of course, knowing what's important, not important, what are coming up with goals, short-term goals and long-term goals, and then what's important and what's not important. Next, flexibility, being able to adjust to situations, and of course, analyzing metacognition, being able to analyze where did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong? What went wrong with my task? Why was it not good? Why was it not at par with the best expectations of my teachers? So dapat mayroong ganong reflective analysis for our students. Okay, so let's begin with all of these are executive functions that our students must develop at home. And how to do that? Let's begin with response inhibition. So response inhibition is defined as it is the capacity to think before you act. Ibig sabihin, dapat turuan natin ang bata na isipin muna niya ng maigi, ng matagal, ano ang mga consequences ng kanyang mga actions. Right? Think before you act. So, in the young child, waiting for a short period without being disrupted is an example of response inhibition, like maghintay. Turuan natin ang bata na maghintay. Ganun lang kasimple. Muna, anak, ka muna ha. Wag kang gagalaw, dito ka muna. Wag mo naman isang oras may iwan mo bata doon. Siguro mga 5 minutes would be enough. 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, 1 minute nga, hirap na sila niyan. Pero, patagalin mo ng patagalin. So start with 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then magkakaroon sila ng one way or the other. Natuturuan mo ng mga bata ng response inhibition. Next would be in adolescent, it would be demonstrated by accepting referee's call without an argument, meaning nakikinig muna sila sa mga comments ng ibang tao. So we need to teach our students to listen to comments of other people and realize. So thinking first before acting. Hindi pwedeng palagi sinasabi na teaching our students that okay lang na ilabas natin ang sama ng loob natin. Kasi pag sinabi natin sama ng loob sa ibang tao, gagaan ang pakiramdam natin. Yes, pero anong epekto naman yan sa ibang tao? Response inhibition is teaching our students to empathize with other people, that if I do this, what will I feel? What will others feel? What will happen to the situation? Okay? So we are teaching our students to go outside themselves. Okay? Na hindi ikaw lang importante sa buhay ito. Hindi nagre-revolve ang mundo, ang buhay sa iyo. Okay? It's a relationship, a close relationship with other people in society. Well, in the family, ikaw, at saka yung mga kapatid mo at ang mga magulang mo. So what are the environmental modifications that we can do to help our kids, our students develop response inhibition? Number one, increase external controls. Rules and regulations are very important. So if you want to develop response inhibitions, ilagay mo pa ano mga rules and regulations. Okay? Ano ang rules and regulations sa isang lugar ng bahay? Sa toilet, ano dapat ang gagawin? So dapat klaro. Hindi sinasabi mo, mas maganda po sa mga bata nakalagay, nakasulat. Okay? Nakasulat talaga. Sir, para naman kasi tayo in school, nasa bahay po tayo at your kids are at home. So they have to feel that there is now a structure at home. So maglalagay kayo ano ang mga expectations sa toilet, ano expectation or behavior, expected behavior in the dining, in the sala, in the bedroom, and so on and so forth. Para klaro. So increase external controls. Huwag kang magagalit kung mali ang ginawa ng bata sa isang lugar na to, sa parte ng bahay ninyo, nag-mess up siya, kasi hindi nyo naman sinabi at wala kayong, hindi nyo inorient ang mga bata, ano dapat ang mga behavior in a certain part of the house. Okay? Next, restrict access. You must know kung kwarto to ni mama, kwarto to ni papa, hindi sila pwedeng pumasok na lang bigla na hindi kumakatok. Hindi lahat ng bagay, hindi lahat, kids must realize and students must realize na hindi lahat ng bagay sa bahay ay kanilang pag-aari. May mga pag-aarian ng ibang tao. So they need to learn to wait, to ask permission from, brothers and sisters, from grandparents, and from parents. Dapat klaro ang mga rules and regulations na yun na if you got things from this place, return where you got it. Okay? If it's not yours, ask permission and return it with the right, return it and take care of it and return it and say thank you. Yung mga ganung mga expectations, dapat sinasabi natin yon. And then you get irritated. Itong anak ko, hindi marunong magpasalamat. Did you teach the child to say thank you? We get too irritated on things that magalit ka kung paulit-ulit mong ginagawa tapos hindi makuha ba, talagang may problema sa working memory yung bata na yan, baka hindi niya ma-recall. But then again, it's constant reminder as part of the positive discipline, what we call as supportive discipline. It's support mo, it's a constant reminder. Next, post home or classroom rules and review regularly. Araw-arawin mo, araw-arawin i-review and so on and so forth. Hanggang sa nasanay sila sa bahay, alam ng mga bata na kung saan lang ang mga toys. Kapag nila sa sala, sabihin ko, why are these toys down here? Where are these toys supposed to be at in this house? Uncle in the playroom. Okay, so what are you supposed to do now with this toy? I'll pick that up, Uncle, and then I'll return that to the playroom. Alam na nila. But at first, it was difficult kasi paulit-ulit mo talagang i-remind. Pero pag tumagal na, magkakaroon na sila ng sinasabi natin na task annexation. If there is no response inhibition development at home, you cannot expect students to do the things you want them to do. So it starts with response inhibition, coming up with rules and regulations. So how do you advise, for teachers out there, how do you advise parents to help their kids develop response inhibition? One, prompt the learner external internal. Ito sabihan sa mga magulang na i-prompt daw kanilang mga anak na merong external at internal. Ibig sabihin, meron kang rules and regulations pero dapat malaman nila na para sa kanila yun. That's why they call it internal. These things that we give them as rules and regulations are not for the rest of the people in the house. It's for them. Pag-disiplinado sila. So, ang ginagawa ko nun ay kung sinong idol nila. Oh, tinan mo naman. Sabi nila, si Uncle daw ka na lang idol. Diba si Uncle can go anywhere he likes. He goes to this place. He comes home with a lot of things and food. It's because I'm disciplined. When I do things, I want to do things, I prioritize first. I want to be like that. So ganun. I-attach mo kung sino mga... So I think communicating with your kids is very important. Okay? Next. Teach, wait, stop, and delayed gratification. Halimbawa, kami noon, pag nagkakain kami, hindi yung sunggap agad sa pagkain. Hindi, okay? Let's wait for Daddy Lou. Okay, for Daddy Lou to sit down, and then we're gonna pray before meals and pray after. So, teaching them a certain structure, wait and stop, delayed gratification, would teach them also response. Very simple lang po yan. Very simple activity yan. Okay? Next, discourage multitasking. Okay? Build in technology breaks rather than having learner combine homework with technology use. Hindi pa sila kagaya natin ng mga adults na well-developed na po ang ating mental skills and ating all other hard skills and soft skills. So habang they're still acquiring the skills, let them focus on. So academics muna. Pag household chores lang. Hindi yung pinagsasabay na hindi pa kaya ng mga bata niyan. So I'm not discouraging multitasking. Later on, kids will develop. Sila na po ang bahala mag-multitask. Pero dapat makafocus muna sila on finishing one task. That's important because you want them to feel that they succeeded something doing right. Okay, so this is response inhibition. Let's proceed to working memory. The working memory is the ability to hold information in memory while performing complex tasks. Example of this would be a young child, for example, can hold in mind and follow 1 to 2 directions, while the middle school child can remember expectations of multiple teachers. So, importante po natin na tinuturuan natin, na walang picture dito, na binibigyan natin ng, in short, turo ang utusan ang bata. Ang daddy ko nung sinasabihan ako, ikaw palagi mong inutusan ng mga pamangkin mo. Eh, babata pa niyan. Sabi ko, de, bata pa lang, dapat marunong silang sumunod. Not because gusto ko lang silang utusan. Hindi. They need to follow instructions. That working memory. Okay, wag naman mahaba. Okay? Pero dapat pag inutusan ng bata, step by step. Okay? I want you to go to my room. Okay, it's open. When you go to my room, there is a desk table there. Get my wallet. It's color brown. Okay? Ganon. Ulitin mo nga. Kay Tefi, ulitin mo nga kung anong yung mga ganon. These are, hindi mo sila inaalila. Maraming mga magulang at maraming mga teachers ang sabi kasi parang ang tingin na kasi ng mga magulang, tingin ng mga teachers inaalila o ng mga bata inaalila sila. No. It's developing working memory, following directions, listening to directions are very good, simple activities at home that would develop working memory among students, but it requires them to listen. So what are the environmental modifications? Use orthotic memory devices like announcements, orthotic devices like mga cellphones. Kung may cellphones kayo or sa clock na umiingay na pagdating ng 12 o'clock, kakain na sila, ano dapat ang task mo? Ikaw maglalagay ng mga pinggan and so on and so forth. These are working memory. Again, towards schedule. Magka-connect ang working memory with a response in addition. Okay, konektado po talaga. That's why they're called set skills, mental set skills. Next, use the principle of offloading. A lot of students of individuals get so stressed because there are a lot of things that they need to remember. So instead of remembering, mas maganda po may mga alarm. Okay? Or kung wala namang alarm po, siguro meron kayo nakapost na malaking schedule board or board na may schedule para makita nila. At of course, may oras. Okay? So, para sumusunod po sila. Kaya mga pamangkin ko, what time is it now? It's 6 o'clock. So what are you supposed to do now? Look at the schedule again. Nagsimula kami sa schedule nun. Of course, I let my brother and my hipag continue on with the scheduling because I must not, take over being a parent. Next would be advising strategy for teachers and for parents. You have directions, past experience from them to access it. Ibig sabihin, kids love listening to paano ka inutusan ng mga magulang mo noon at paano ka sumunod and so on and so forth. And then of course, following directions. Ang magandang activity dito yung board games. Okay, they follow it. Okay, sungka is very good. So sungka. Kung ayaw nyo po, magkaroon kayo ng huwag naman sa mga babies kasi kakainin lang nila mga sungka na yun. Siguro po mga school age na po, they will understand. And then you're teaching them also mathematical skills. They're playing but at the same time, they're learning working memory, but mathematical skills as well. Next, so balik nyo pang sungka ha. All right. Generate options for reminders and have them choose or elicit options from learners. So, ibig sabihin, how they want to be reminded of their tasks. Cell phone, or it could be si Lola or Lolo na magsasabi sa kanila, or just go looking at the schedule. So, mag-usap po kayo. Alright? Next would be mentally rehearse association between cue and working memory. Ang ginagawa namin dito ay may music. So, they associate a certain music. Halimbawa, pag noon, pag narinig ko na yung kalimbang like na sound, alam ko na magdadasal na kami nung bata ako. Pag ng mami ko narinig namin na nagkaganyan ng kutsara at parabaso, alam namin na. So, you may want to, instead of, daldal ka ng sigaw pa ng sigaw, come up with associations of sounds to a particular task. Para, wag naman yung kagaya ng sa aso na meron kang whistle. Wag naman whistle, okay? Association, na tama namang association mo sa activity na yun. Pinggan, wag naman nagbabasig ng pinggan. Yung tutunog lang naman, o kaya yung kalembang na, yung pag magdadasal. If you have, part of your schedule is praying and so on and so forth. So it would be, these are creative ways for kids to follow. Next would be emotional control. Emotional control is the ability to manage emotions, okay, in order to achieve goals and complete tasks, okay? A young child with this, example of this would be a young child with this skill is able to recover from disappointment in a short time. A teenager is able to manage the anxiety of a game or task and still perform. There are a lot of tasks for kids to do now, especially learning at home. And there's a possibility that they will get exhausted and they get frustrated because of a lot of things that they have to accomplish. So they need a lot of guidance on their emotional control. Now, how do we do this? Okay, these are the environmental modification that we can help our kids, help them, control their emotion. Once, reduce and eliminate triggers. Alam po natin na ang mga bata, pag kunwari, nakita nila, halimbawa, alam mong, pag nakita nila yung toys nila, wala nang magagawa kundi maglaro na lang. So, siguro, kung academics po sila, huwag mong ilalagay ang bata na malapit sa play area. Okay? Or, alam mo ng bata mahilig sa ice cream, huwag mo papakitin ng ice cream. May mga bata, okay, habang nag-aaral ang bata, si nanay o si lola kain ng ice cream. Huwag naman gano'n. So, dapat sabihin po natin na all adults in the family should avoid the triggers that would trigger inattention and emotional change among the kids while learning at home. So, dapat alam po natin. Give a child script to follow kasi nga kulang pa kanilang mga words, lacking for words. So, it's nice to let them express their emotions. Okay, bakit ka galit? Ano nangyari? Ba't umiyak? What do you feel? So, ikaw mismo magsasabi, do you feel hot? Is there something that, do you have pain in your body? Do you have difficulty swallowing swallowing your saliva? Try it. This is your saliva and swallow it. So, sinasabi mo sa kanila using the language so that, you provide them with certain script. Again, kids are not born with vocabulary. They're not born with the language. And therefore, we need to help them express their emotions via supplying them with words. Next, remove child from problem situation. Alam mo, magkaaway sila palagi. Pag ganitong umaga, tantrums sila, edi paghiwalay mo muna magkakapatid. So, dapat aware po tayo ano mga triggers ng kanilang mga emotions. Alright? Advising strategy, teach kids to recognize situations or early signs. Halimbawa, alam mong yung bunso mong kapatid, magtatantrums na dahil nga hindi mo pinapahiram ng toy, o di pahiram mo na yung toy. Tapos sabi mo, okay, I will let you borrow my toy, but you have to tell me, ate, can I borrow? Yung mga ganong mga situations is very important that parents have to deal with at home. Sometimes, a lot of parents, what would do is that they ignore. That's not how we help our students learn to control emotions. Yung, tatahan din yan. Pagkatapos mag-away yan, magkakasundo yan. No. Hindi pwede. Alam natin magkakasundo sila, but you need to help them process that such emotion. Okay? Graded exposure and guided mastery. So it's very important for our students also to control the emotions, especially for knowing that they will be graded, okay, that they will be observed, that they will be somehow be evaluated. So that's one way of helping them to do emotional. Now, whether you like it or not, you have to do this. It's not what you like and you don't like. It's because what's important is you need this because you have to pass the test. Yung mga test na yan ay importante. So, yung paggawa po ng tamang schedule per teachers of giving them kailan ng quizzes can also provide them with a sense of emotional control. It also helps the parents control them at home. O, bibitahan na, huwag na magalit na kasi nga kailangan natin mag-aral, kasi nga sa Friday na ang quiz, ganyan. So, by providing our parents with a schedule for the week, or ako kasi gusto ko schedule for the month. Ganun talaga. Tapos niyan. Or the module, schedule for the module. Tapos na para alam ng mga magulang kung ano ang dapat gawin sa mga anak nila. A clear schedule for kids to follow given by the teachers for the academic schedule is a way for helping our parents come up with a better way to guide our parents in teaching their kids control their emotions. Coping strategy, rehearse strategy until it is internalized. Ulit-ulit talaga. Use hard times board, yung mga board na ano dapat ang gagawin. So, you should be, ang ginawa namin, emoticons, kung anong mapifeel mo doon. Okay? And then you have teach mindfulness meditation. Yung silent time. Ang tawag po namin ay silent time. No talk, silent time muna tayo. That's why in the early grades, we practice silent time. I think parents also should teach kids to do silent time. Meron nga kami din, hindi naman regularly na practice, just once a year lang naman. We have Earth Hour. Pagdating ng Earth Hour, wala po kaming lights and then nakakandila lang kami. Uh, di ko alam kung nasunod na kasi I wasn't with, di ako palagi nasa bahay. But we had that practice at home na sarado lahat ng kuryente, walang kuryente, and then kandila lang, and we are, in the balcony, in the terrace, the terrace, and then just, looking at the stars. Number 4 is task initiation. It is the ability to begin projects without undue procrastination in an efficient or timely fashion. So again, sabi ko nga, importante na alam ng bata na dapat niyang gawin yun. It's basically prioritizing too. Example of this would be a young child is able to start a chore assignment right after instructions are given. So alam niya, dahil nga nasanay siya na may responsibility. Again, kids will not be able to initiate tasks if they were not shown or they were not guided to do all of this, right? So another one would be a high school student does not wait until the last minute to begin a project. Ang bata na alam niya na may schedule sila gabi-gabi for study time will, in the long run, will study on their own. Kaya lang po, you cannot expect kids to study if you do not impose study time. So yan po isa sa mga dapat natin turuan sa mga bata, yung pag-impose ng schedule on study time. Pero, sorry po ulit mga magulang, sorry po mga teacher, sorry po ulit mga teachers, pag sinabi po natin na ganyang schedule, we have to be there to guide and support them. So what are the modifications we can provide our kids to develop task organization? Provide cues and prompts. Ano ang mga dapat gagawin? Schedule ulit. Simple. Reduce perceived efforts and task demand. Huwag mong sasabihin, may mga magulang sinasabi na ang hirap talaga niyan, anak. Ang hirap talaga niyan. Huwag ganon. Huwag sabihin, ang hirap pala ba't mo binibigay sa akin? Sabihin ng mga bata yan. Tapos naman, madali lang yan. Kaya natin yan. Tutulungan ka ni mami, tutulungan ka ni papa. Okay? Mga ganyan. Walk through first step, build behavior momentum. So walk through, ibig sabihin, kasama ka ha. Kasama ka mga magulang. Kayo mga teachers naman, kung may binibigay kayong task mga bata, mag-demo kayo. Especially for distance education, if you want your, halimbawa, make an infomercial on. Sinabi mo gumawa ng infomercial o gumawa ng poster, ipakita mo muna paano ginagawa. Again, remember, if you're providing your students with expectations and tasks and outcomes that they need to accomplish, show them how it's done. Hindi pwedeng na you're asking them to perform something and yet you don't know how. Okay? Next would be make help readily available. Make them feel that they can do things, but they need also to admit that if it's difficult for them or they're having difficulty doing it, do not hesitate to ask for help. Okay, andito lang ako ha, para kailangan mo ng tulong, tatawagin mo lang ako, okay? Establish set time to do non-preferred tasks. Yan ang sinasabi ko palagi, mula pa lang, schedule. Have a good schedule at home. Balancing what students want to do, academics, and then household chores. Advising. So the advising that we can provide for parents and for teachers would be, 1, have the students select queuing system. Let them decide how the scheduling will go. Okay? Kung gusto nilang icons, hindi icons. Kung gusto nilang mga sound system, then sounds, and so on and so forth. How the student limit initial demand. You start with simple activities. Simple lang muna. Habang tumatagal, dumadami ng responsibilities. Padagdag ng padagdag. Hindi ibibigay mo lahat. Okay? Help the student select reinforcer. Okay? Ano ang mga gusto niya mga rewards? Basta pagkatapos nito, manunod ako talaga ng Netflix. Okay, fine. No problem. Let's do these things first. Help the student make a plan for doing the task. When we say helping the student, ibig sabihin, meron na kayong nakalagay na schedule. But doing it, ang sinasabi to help them make a plan for doing task is how can they do the task for the academics while doing the task for home, all the household chores. Okay? So parents out there, sinasabi ko po ulit, hindi pwedeng sasabihin mo lang, oh, mga nanay, lola, papa, dapat hindi abalain ng mga anak kapag aral lang, walang gagawin. Hindi pwede. Nasa bahay sila, they must learn that there's a combination of academic responsibilities and responsibilities at home. Okay? You don't want kids na pag-graduate po nila sa college, ayaw umalis ng bahay nyo dahil sanay sila na si nanay palagi ang nagluluto or may yaya palagi. The independence comes with knowing how to do this task, this personal tasks. Mas madali po maging independent ang bata pag marunong siyang mag-ayos ng kanyang gamit, marunong po siya magtiklop ng kanyang mga damit. These are simple activities that, would develop task organization. Turuan ko paano magtiklop ng t-shirt, ng paano magpunda, paano magtiklop, mag-ayos ng kanilang hinigaan, and so on. So show them. Make it an activity. Gawain namin yung mga pamangkin ko. Okay, you hold the end of the other sa blanket. Okay, hold it there. Okay, let's count. Make it into half. Okay, very good. So there's a way of doing it. Make it fun. Okay, don't make it stressful. Let's now move on to organization number 5. It is the ability to create and maintain systems to keep track of information or materials. All right, just checklists. Ang ginagawa ko na at the end of the day is okay, what did you do? Reporting yan. Anong ginawa? So again, ang dami nila magre-report. So I'm teaching them organizations. It is the ability to create and maintain systems to keep track of information or materials. Okay, a young child can, with a reminder, put toys in a designated place. Okay, nasabi ko na kanina. An adolescent can organize and locate sports equipment. Alam nila kung saan nila binili. So pag meron kayong problema sa anak ninyo na alam mo yung suklay kung saan nilagay, pero palaging nawawala. Palagi akong bumibili ng suklay, palaging nawawala. Kasi hindi mo tinuruan ang iyong anak ng organization. Meaning, to get the things from where they got them and return it there. Okay? Simple lang. So, klaro po dapat, again, orientation yan. Anak, itong kitchen na to, dito nakalagay ang ano. It's like school. It's an orientation. You cannot expect kids to return things if you have not provided them with orientation of where the things at home are found and how they're going to return it and how to use it. Simply po. Okay? Nagagalit po ang mga magulang na hindi na babalik ang mga bata. Tinuruan mo ba? Nagbigay ka ba ng orientation? Kung meron po tayong sinasabi na school tour, magkaroon po tayo ng house tour to teach our kids organization. So what are the environmental modifications we can provide our kids with? So 1, demonstrate principle of offloading with example from their lives. Example from their lives. Okay? Dapat ginagawa mo rin. Okay? Next, work with them to create scheme, template, or picture photograph. Okay? Show organizational tools and have them try them out. So like, you can try out application inspiration. For those na wala talaga, concept reminder ka talaga. Daldal. Structure the environment to promote organization. Ayun po. Importante po na may structure. Kahit sabihin natin maliit lang bahay niyo, dapat may structure. Alam mo kung saan nakalagay mga pinggan, saan nakalagay ka ng mga toys, saan nakalagay nasa box po. Hindi ibig sabihin na kailangan iba-ibang rooms. Okay? It doesn't mean that we have to create different rooms. It's just that there must be a designated place or designated area for such things. Para magkaroon ng organization. Otherwise, cluttered ang bahay nyo. Tapon lang dito kung saan, and so on and so forth. That's difficult and it will not help your kids' organizational skills. Not organization skills. So how do we advise? Help them walk through the process. Ulitin ko po, walk through talaga orientation. Have them motorically practice a long-term process requiring that they put a system in place that's monitored initially on a daily basis. Okay, tuturuan mo sila. Halika, saan ilalagay ang binagbihisan? Papakita mo talaga, titiklopin. Okay, tiklopin. Kaya si Angel. Okay, saan ilalagay? Okay. Tapos maliligo. Ano maligo? Okay, shampoo. Bubukas mo na ito. Anong paghawa? Promise, it's a tedious responsibility for parents. Now, parents out there, if you have problems with this and you are working, palagi yung sinasabi, kasi working ako hindi ko yung matutukan. Mayaya po ba tayo? Or si lolo't lola? At least, turuan po ninyo si lolo't lola kung paano po talagang tama. Ganito po. So sabi ko nga sa inyo, your executive functions must be given as an orientation, not just to parents, but all the primary caregivers who are source of model for this student at home. Give them choices of organizational systems, be it through cell phones, as I've said, or just a board that would remind them of what they're supposed to do. Ask students to evaluate current systems and challenge them to improve them. Like at the end of Friday, evaluate kayo ano mga bagay na hindi mo nagawa, ano nagawa mo, how do you improve that for next week, and so on and so forth. So it's a very good way of ending the week by evaluating what went wrong, what went really well, and if there are things that went wrong, how you ask suggestions from your kids how to improve it the next week. Hindi ikaw magsasabi palagi. Otherwise, your kids will not learn to be creative and come up with solutions how to improve their actions. Okay. Next, planning and prioritizing is kind of like the same with organization, only that this is more of the ability to create roadmap to reach a goal or to complete a task. Simple task. Isang task po siya. Halimbawa, paano ako uh, uh, ito yung sinasabi natin na routines. So academically, dapat teachers, you should teach your, dapat nakaklaro po kung ito po ay nakamodular po, kung ito ay online, dapat may routine pa rin po. And the routine must be routines. Hindi everyday nababago or every week nababago na, ay feeling ko ngayon ito gagawin ko. No. You have to stick with your routine until that your students have stabilized and been inculcated with that kind of thinking. A good example would be a child with coaching can think of options to settle peer conflict. Next, a teenager can formulate a plan to get a job. Especially for career building and career choice for high school. What are the environmental modifications we can give? Demonstrate what a plan is. Again, magawa, demonstration talaga modeling ito. Have child design a plan template. Okay, paano gagawin mo? Drawing, writing it down, having a diary is very important. Now, kung wala nang, kaya nga sabi ko, sana kung hindi mo mabalik ang diary, gawin mong e-diary. Kung may cellphones po mga estudyante ninyo, pwede nyo i-track yun. Meron po ako dito sa notes. I do. Ando pa rin sa notes. In fact, I have a diary for my religious life. I have my diary for my personal life. So, siguro, I have that because nasanay po ako ng bata ko. Panahon kasi namin may mga diary pa. Kaya it's high time. Hindi po yan by henerasyon, ha? Yung ganyan pong practice po helps our kids have planning and prioritizing activities or skills. Next, provide planning tools, calendar, agenda, book, or planners. Very nice if we can provide, your kids with planners. There are electronic planners though that you can download. So what are the things you can do to help them plan and organize? Yeah, walk through the planning process, how to use the application or the diary, how to use the diary or how to use the planner, and have them apply plan to simple tasks. So isulat. Maganda po yan. So mas maganda siguro kung ang mga bata ngayon sa bahay, bilhan ng mga magulang ng planner. Okay? Ako noon, ang ginawa ng mother ko, meron kang malaking board na ganyan. Tapos nakalagay Monday, Tuesday, tapos parang calendar siya. Tapos sinusulat namin kung anong gagawin by hour. Tapos alam ko kung anong gagawin. So siguro that's how I get so, organized. Flexibility is one of the things that we need to teach our kids. Okay? One with the definition of which is the capacity to adapt to changing conditions. Hindi yung magtatantrums na pag hindi nasusunod ng gusto niya, sige, iyakan tayo, sigawan tayo, o magmamakol, o magtatampo, o magkukulong na. Tapos mamaya, how we can do this is, example muna. A young child can adjust to change in plans without major distress. Especially nung pag pupunta kami ng Robinsons dyan, iniisip agad ng mga bata na, ako, bibili na ng pagkain, kakain kami sa SNR and so on and so forth. Now all of a sudden, meron talagang panahon, meron talagang araw na babagong schedule. I would ask them, babies, I'm sorry, but we have to go first to the Sister Samara because we have to talk to Sister. No, is that okay with you? But if we cannot, pass through Robinsons, at least you can play in the garden or in the farm of the boys now. And they get to adjust. Basta in-explain lang na maayos. A high school student can accept an alternative such as a different job when the first choice is not available. So, pag natutunan ng bata ang flexibility, it's easy for them to, okay, I have other options. What are the modifications we can do at home? Reduce novelty and highlight similarities. Ang mga bata kasi gusto nila palaging bago. Okay, hindi. Baby, parang bago lang yan, pero tingnan mo, pareho lang pa rin yan. Ginawang tinapay na to, magkaiba lang. Okay? O, sige pa rin naman, still enjoy. Hindi nga lang tayo kakain agad. Pero maglalaro muna kayo. So, makikita nyo muna mga sister. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, but for teachers and parents, it's very important for us to take time to communicate. Sit down and communicate all of this to the children. Provide a template. Put in place a default strategy using your cell phones again. Turn open-ended tasks into closed-ended tasks like what you want. I want to. Mga bata magsasabi, I want to do this, and so on and so forth. So open-ended, making them have a choice. Kasi pag sila may gusto nagpumili, pwede mong sabihin sa mga bata, but baby, Ikaw ang pumili niyan, di ba? So, let's stick with this for this week, okay? And then let's find out it's okay. You cannot change it just because you don't want it right now. You have to go through with it because you plan it, and then by next week, on Friday and on Saturday and Sunday, we're going to evaluate what went wrong, how you did it, and then if things did not go well, we're going to come up with another plan for the next week, okay? Ganon. Huwag sisigawan. Ito ha? Hindi pwede. Gawin mo yan. Communicate. Make steps more explicit. Okay? Be practical, be direct to the point, step by step. Get the pencil from the, okay? Return the pencil from the books, place the books here. Mga ganyan mga direction, klarong-klaro, wala ka ng problema. Kasi sabi mo, bibig, klaro naman nakasulat doon kung saan ka pupunta, saan mo ilalagay, and so on and so forth. So, kung ano ang merong mga environmental prints sa school, kung saan ibabalik, kagaya ng library, kung saan nakalagay, the house should be like that too. Okay, so dapat teachers, pakiorient ng mga parents na ganun din talaga. Labeling ang tawag natin doon. Normalize errors. Okay? Let them learn from their errors. That's simple as that. Do not use errors against your kids. Do not use errors and mistakes against students. Use these errors and mistakes as an opportunity for learning. Okay? Hindi yung nagkamali siya. Nagkamali nga, ibig sabihin hindi niya alam. Eh di, opportunity for learning. A lot of parents are, ano ba na, naiinis ako sa iyo, hindi mo nagagawa ng tama. Uy, no, that's a good opportunity for doing things together, for teaching and learning. Kayo talaga mga magulang. Next, increase support. Set expectations, walk them through the task, give plans or rules for managing situations, and then think aloud. Begin na po ng samples and think aloud during my previous sessions on social emotional development. And then teach error factor. Change tolerance by gradual exposure. Okay, introduce change, lightning, bold preferred to non-preferred. So, ano mga gusto nilang conditions like maliwanag ba o hindi, anong color ng walls, and so on and so forth. Sabi ng mga magulang, wala naman kayo pabili ng, o di, kung wala, di po, the organization, saan mo nila gusto ilagay saan nakalagay ang aparador ng mga toys, o lala ang box ng toys, and so on and so forth. So, by making them part of the organization of the house, it's also teaching them flexibility, right? And finally, we have metacognition, where the last practical, and then we'll have open forum, okay? For the method, the last executive function is the metacognition. It's the ability to stand back and take a bird's eye view of oneself in situation. This is more of self-analysis and self-reflection. A good example would be a young child can change behavior is behavior and response to feedback from an adult. So, pwede niyang baguhin ng kanyang behavior in response, di po yan is, in response to feedback from adult. So, iyak ba ako? Sisigawan ko ba? Papatulang ko ba siya? Or hindi? So, ibig sabihin na bago siya mag-react, it's also like thinking before acting. It's inhibition. Kaya lang this time, pag ang metacognition is higher form na po is na-analyze niya in different perspectives what will be the results of certain actions or certain outbursts. For teenagers, they can monitor and critique their performance and improve it by observing others who are more skilled. Ibig sabihin, they don't still falling down. They don't stay on the ground. When they fall down, they don't stay there. They analyze why they fell, and then they do something about it, and probably use other people. Hindi sila maiinggit dahil may mas magaling. Hindi. Gagamitin niyang inspirasyon ng ibang tao na yun ang gagawin niya. Okay? Kung hindi natin tuturuan ng metacognition ng mga bata, ang gagawin niya palagi ay he or she will start comparing himself to others. And she would feel that there are people better than them and so on and so forth, and that she can never or he can never be as better as they are. Ang sakit po nun. Okay? Encouraging our students will be best. Okay? So what are the modifications that we can do in our environment? Specify ways to be evaluated how or goal objectives. So importante sa bahay, teachers, you need to teach the parents to sit down with children to prioritize. Kasi hindi ma-develop ang metacognition hanggat wala pong prioritization and planning sa executive functions. Let them prioritize. For Monday, what's the priority? Tuesday, what's the priority? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so on and so forth. Based on the activity, academic activities that you provided them with. Ang tanong doon, anong mas priority ng mga bata pag Monday to Friday? Ang academic responsibilities or household chores? I think academic muna, okay? And household chores secondary. Pero pagdating sa Friday and Saturday, household chores ang priority, tapos academics or studies secondary. Nakuha po natin. So hindi pwedeng, hindi natin all the time from Monday to Sunday, ganun po ang priority. We need to teach our students that the priorities change every now and then depending on the context and situations. Evaluate performance for the students, palaging evaluate. So always talking about, a lot of teachers would use quantitative evaluation, but I suggest that we also include qualitative evaluation so that it will provide our students with a feedback on certain quality, like using rubrics. Analytic rubrics will be best, though. Provide sample to match or error monitoring checklist. May mga teachers na nagsasabi po na, ay, ayoko magbigay ng example kasi gagayahin lang nila yan. No. You provide example how a task is done so that they would know how it's done. But you tell them that you may improve on this. Okay, since I have shown you how it's done, I want you to improve on this. Okay? Hindi ka napakita. Basta, hindi ako papakita kasi gagayahin nyo lang. Pero pagkalabas, frustrated ka dahil hindi na gusto mong expectation. If you want an expectation, you're expecting something from your students to do, for them to be able to do. Like with parents too. Anong gusto mong expectation sa mga bata? Then show them how it's done. And then ask them that you can do better than this. So think about it, how you can do better, be creative about it. Okay? Embed metacognitive questions into instructions and conversations. A good example would be asking questions, help child decide how performance will be evaluated, have the child evaluate her performance by asking questions, compare evaluation. So these are the questions that you can ask them. What's my problem? So ask yourself, what's my problem? So what's my plan now? Now that I know that I am not so good at this, what do I do now? Next, am I following my plan? Sorry, wala pong I. Am I following my plan? Or have I not followed it? And if I followed it but it did not go well, what do I do now? How did I do? So these are metacognitive activities to help your kids, start questioning themselves, start self-monitoring. All right. So these are just the eight executive functions that we need to develop among our students. And do you have any questions about this? So I will. How do I summarize all of this to just, one activity that we can do at home? I'll provide that later on during conclusions and implications. So at the moment, do you have any questions, clarifications on the 8 executive functions, how it relate to helping our students develop positive discipline? So Jill, do we have questions from the audience?
Yes, po, Brother Ricky, we have some questions here from our viewers. The first one is from Miss Zenaida Perez. Dapat po bang laging may reward ang mga anak kapag may ginawa silang maganda, lalo na po sa pag-aaral?
Well, as I've said, when I say reward, it does not have to be gifts per se, tangible gifts. But I would say praises is better than rewards. So if you provide them with praises like good work, a hug, and all, mas maganda po yun kasi mas emotionally supportive po yun kaysa sa mga tangible things. Mas lasting po ang emotional support or emotional praises than the things that they handle. Pag sinani kasi natin ng mga bata na mayroong mga gifts palagi, na mayroong tangible gifts, there again, sinasabi ko kanina, ang matututunan ng bata ay I'm doing these things very, very well because I will get something in return. So we don't want our kids to end up thinking that they have to do things well because they will be rewarded at the end or they get something out of it at the end. What we want them is that they're doing it because that's how they're doing it because that makes them feel good about themselves and what they did. And it establishes a better relationship between other people, like especially for the parents and teachers. So my answer to that, it's not always. Okay? Mas okay pa rin po ang praises. Yan po tinuturo ko sa mga pamangkin ko. Kaya pag sinasabi ko sa kanila na, they wait for uncle saying very good. Nag-wait sila there, nagre-report sila kasi they want to hear Uncle say, very good, I love you. Tapos ang hug ni Uncle, ang maraming kisses ni Uncle. Huwag natin sanayin na maraming gifts. There would be occasions na kailangan din, may occasions na may gifts like siguro birthday, pero hindi lahat ng mga ginawa ng bata, ng study, nagawa ng score, binigyan agad ng tablet, and so on and so forth. Not good. Not good. Thank you.
Thank you po. Next po is from Miss Aliana Cosain. Good afternoon po, sir. How to create a positive discipline to a teenager na lumaki sa pagdidisiplina ng maling paraan gaya ng pagpalo sa bata kapag nakakagawa ng kamalian?
Wow. Wow. Ang laki po ng gagawin ng magulang. O for teachers po, hindi mo kakayanin ikaw lang. Kasi kung babalik pa rin sa bahay na ganun pa rin ang pagdidisiplina, ang nangyayari kasi sa mga bata is that they will resort, ang palagi nilang isip, may mga bata kasi na may immune sa physical punishment. Pakialam ko suntok lang naman yan, isang pa lang naman yan, pagkatapos yan, they're not gonna change. But if we focus more on the positive discipline, like attacking the emotions, attacking the psyche, or attacking their mental, their brain, their minds, by talking to them, it's better. So kung kayo po ay teacher ng problema po ay mga behavioral problems po ng mga teenagers po, you need to sit down. You can only do so much. Sorry teachers, but you can only do so much. Ako nung nag-advise ako sa mga parents noon sa Aquinas, palagi kong sinasabi sa mga teachers, I would like you to do a home visit. Tingnan po natin kung ano ang sources ng mali ng behavior ng bata. Tapos, binibigay nila sa akin, tapos tatawagin ko mga parents, Ma'am, pasensya po ha, but we have to be honest with you. I know that the school has a part in the behavioral modification of your children, pero ito po ang na-observe namin sa bahay po ninyo. Tingnan po natin, bakit po ang anak ninyo po ay nanununtok na ng bigla? Kasi po, tingnan po dito sa inyong sa narrative na binigay po sa amin ng inyong pong anak, ng inyong kapatid niyang nakakatanda. Pag nagkamali siya, sinusuntok agad. Tapos sabi ko daw, okay lang yun. So sa idea ng mga bata, the idea there is that kami po, ako as an educator, binabalik ko, pero you need a concrete evidence na talagang sila. Kasi parents would always deny. Kaya nga po, home visitation is very important. And the schools that I handle, I encourage home visitation only for those students with, pinaprioritize namin ng students na meron talagang behavior problems. Sir, paano yun sa pandemic ngayon? So ang gagawin po natin sa pandemic, perhaps identify students with behavioral problems as referred to by the parents. Tapos you talk to the parents. Now, sir, hindi po ako marunong ng guidance and counseling how to handle executive functions. I highly suggest po sa schools po ninyo, meron po kayong guidance. Kung sa private schools, require po kayo ng PAYAC na meron kayong guidance counselor or meron kayong consultant na ini-hire for your school so that you can, you refer these problems to your consultant. For the public schools naman po, you can refer that to your principals and the principal will talk to them. Well, ideally though, pero pag sa public school, lahat ng problema ng bata, ikaw din. So you'll have to talk to the parents. But you need to have a concrete example. Yung problema nga lang this pandemic po ay mahirap po. Hindi po natin magawa ang home observations. So importante po natin dito is for us to know that there's a possibility that the source of the problem of the students, of the behavioral problems of our students are from the examples from parents and how the parents discipline them. Mahirap po kausapin mga magulang kasi isipin nila, bakit? Kayo mga magulang? You have to teach them a way. Ako I don't know, I was able to minsan kasi mga magulang nakikinig kung eksperto ang kausap nila. Pag ang kausap nila ay teacher lang, hindi sila I don't understand that psyche. Sabi ko, minsan magkausap ko sa mga magulang, sabi ko, Ma'am, nandito po si teacher. Sinabi naman daw niyo po sa inyo. Ano pong pinagkaiba na siya ang nagsabi at kailangan ako pong nagsasabi sa inyo as being the consultant of the school? Sir, kasi mas maganda pakinggan kasi at naniniwala po kami pag eksperto po ang nagsasabi. Sabi ko, teachers are not experts. They are always with your kids and they are able to observe that. Pero sabi nila, sir, hindi. Kasi kayo po yung eksperto. So kayo paniniwalaan namin. Refer that. If you think you have problem talking to the parents, Filipinos have a difficult way of accepting comments like this from teachers, especially if parents think that they are more expert than teachers. So I would suggest that teachers refer, especially for the private school teachers, refer such problems to your consultant in your school or your guidance counselor so that they will handle the situation. Hindi pwedeng hindi handle yan kasi nga i-handle mo ngayong year na to pero you're not solving the problem kasi nasa bahay ng problema. The next year, it will still be the same problem for other teachers. So, ngayon na-identify mo, mas magandang i-refer niyan sa inyong mga eksperto. Sir, wala po kami eksperto sa public school. Yan po ang problema ko. Dapat meron kayong alam ko, meron na pong ni-require po ang central office na magkaroon po sana ng itinerant teachers or counselors sa mga schools ninyo. Pero again, refer will be nice. Again, as I've said, parents listen to experts, especially if the parents are the one with huge problems. I'd love to talk about that. So Mitch, could you please list down the topic on how to handle behavioral problems of students and the root cause are the parents. Ganda yan, I'll nasulat mo yun, Mitch?
Noted.
Thank you very much. That's a good way. Sige po. I-share ko po sa inyo practical ways how I did it. And then at least magkakaroon kayo ng idea, especially for the public school teachers, how to handle it. Paano ko ginagawa? Ang tawag ko doon kasi ibudol-budol eh. Binubudol-budol ko. I learned that from my on my remediation classes, how to handle misbehavior, talking to parents and so on. So pero kami mga ganong sessions noon. So I learned from it. And through practice na rin po how to handle parents. So that's how I will answer your questions po. Thank you.
Thank you po, Brother Ricky. Next question po is from Mr. Felix Ray M. Igual. Can't deny the fact that students while at home are prone to household chores. Some are urged to work along with their parents. What advice can we give to parents where students
Mitch, nagkakawala-wala ka. Hindi ko na rin Could you repeat the question? Medyo static lang.
Sorry po. Again po, for Mr. Felix Igual. Ayan po. The fact that students while at home are prone to house
Chores.
What advice can we give to parents where students are expected to study?
Okay. Kasama po dapat yan sa parent orientation. We need to, ang ginagawa ko po nung pag akong nakatask mag-orient, well, especially for the schools that I handle, ang una kong tinatarget, what do you want for your kids? What is your dream for your kids? Now, if you have this dream for your kids, what are the tasks that you give your students, your kids at home? Let's prioritize. If these tasks, kung prioritize mo yung mga household chores and it does not lead towards your long-term goal, how do you now reprioritize the tasks that you provide your kids? Ang akin po is, it's very important to make the parents understand that sometimes or more often than not, they just give their kids lots and lots of responsibilities, yung pagtatrabaho, household responsibilities, academics. Minsan napupunta sa sideline ang academics. So ibabalik po natin sa mga magulang, ano ba talaga ang pangarap nyo sa inyong mga anak? Kasi baka ang pag-prioritize ng mga magulang ng mga responsibilidad na binibigay sa mga bata nila, ang mga anak nila, ay baka hindi klaro sa kanila kung ano ang gusto nilang mangyari sa buhay ng kanilang anak. Ngayon, kung makita mo na wala pong pangarap, mayroon pong mga sitwasyon, promise po sa tagal ko po sa question ko ito, marami po akong namimit ng mga parents na ang kanilang goal lang sa kanilang anak ay makatapos lang ng pag-aaral. Okay, yun lang. At magkaroon ng trabaho at makatulong sa kanila. Alright, so pwede naman po tayo mag-start doon. So, ang gagawin lang po natin is to help them refine their goals. Some parents do not have dreams for their kids. Sabi ang sa kanila, kung ako masusunod lang hindi ko na pag-aaralan ng mga anak ko yan kasi mas okay nga nakakatulong sa amin. There are parents who do not have dreams for their kids. Now what we can do is help them create dreams for their kids. I believe that parents just need guidance on how to help kids help their kids have dreams. And it starts with the dreams of their parents. Doon po talaga magsisimula. Well, kids are not born having dreams. The dreams are the dreams of the parents for their kids to have a better life than theirs. Yun lang naman talaga ang simple, ang primordial goals of parents, of most parents in the world, for their kids to have a better life, a life better than theirs. So if we start there, then we can help our parents. Again, you need to communicate to the parents. I highly suggest po na meron po kayong orientation palagi sa parents. I'm sorry po, ako lang po talaga to. As being a consultant, it's very important for me to always call parents. I have always time to talk to parents. Bakit po? Sila po ang partners. Kahit anong usap ko sa bata, na ganito dapat ang ginagawa niya, so forth, kung ang mga magulang ay hindi naman ginagawa ang sinasabi ko sa bata. So sabi ko sa mga teachers sa mga schools na hinahandle ko, I will not talk to the students. Okay? I will talk to the parents. Hindi kasama ang mga bata. Okay, the kids manifest behavior because of factors circulating around their life. That will be the teachers, the parents, and all other adults at home. So kung sino man yan, pinapatawag ko talaga. So ganun po dapat ang gagawin natin. Let's attack or let's talk to the parents, because no matter how we talk to the kids and how we help them, if the parents are not our partners with the journey of our students' lives, then wala pa rin po, walang gamit. Babalik pa rin po sa maling gawain ng mga bata. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Ricky. That's all the question we have for now. Of course, we'll proceed po to your conclusion and last reminders to our viewers.
Sorry, dapat naglagay pala ako ng ganitong slide ko. So, open forum done. Let's proceed now to my conclusions and implications, tying loose ends and presenting challenges to teachers and parents. 1. It is very important for us, parents and teachers, especially for the pandemic, that our kids strike a balance of the tasks that they perform at home. Academics, household chores, and then for personal. Tatlo naman importante ginagawa ngayon. Sa ngayon, ito po ang pinaka-importante sa mga bata. Yung gusto kong gawin, yung pag-aaral ko, at mga gawain sa bahay. How do we prioritize that? Sit down with the kids. Teach parents to sit down with the kids. Anak, anong pangarap mo sa buhay? Always, it starts with a goal. Go back to my session on Monday, this Monday, on self-discipline and on social emotional development. It always boils down to having a goal in life. And then by having a goal in life, all task performance and prioritizing them will be geared towards your goal. And then our task as a parent would be to support that. Kaya lang po, a lot of parents do not sit down with their kids and then discuss all these things. Importante po ngayon na i-discuss talaga yan. All right? And prioritize. For me kasi, importante yung academics. Importante yan sa mga bata. And then secondary, household chores, and then yung gusto ng mga bata. Kasi kung ang bata pa pipiliin mo, uunahin niya yung gusto niya gawin para sa sarili niya. Ang last niyan palagi ay gawain sa bahay. Alright? Now, so once we facilitate the tasking, ibig sabihin, mag-assign po kayo ng mga gawain ng bata. Hindi puro academics, hindi puro household chores, hindi pwedeng gusto lang ng bata. There must be a combination of all of this and prioritize. Once we do this, we sit down as parents, we sit down with our kids doing this, we teach them achievement and motivation. We teach them responsibility, we teach them self-control, and we teach them persistence. This is one of my discussions on just this Monday on social emotional development. Okay, next. But if we parents and teachers guide our students on doing the tasks, ulitin ko po, hindi po binigay natin, na-assign natin sa bata ang mga tasks na to, hindi natin sila bibigyan ng guidance. So dapat may guidance through asking questions, modeling, and so on and so forth. If the task performance allow our students to acquire achievement, motivation, responsibility, and self-control and persistence, and then us giving them guidance on how to do this task, we help them develop critical thinking, metacognition, and self-efficacy. And because we are talking to them and guiding them all throughout, guidance and supervision, we help them know their task in both doing academics, things at home, and what they want to do. Then we develop curiosity, tolerance, and creativity on how to do. Kasi gagawin ng mga bata, ay, gagawin ko ito ng maigi, itong gagawin ko. They become creative and doing things the easy way. Nakakaisip sila ng paraan. Ang sa atin, sweet tick, ganun. basta bigyan mo sila. But they will not be creative. They will be not be they will not have curiosity and tolerance to lots of tasks if you do not give them tasks. Right? Now, it's not just that. Once we provide our students with tasks and then we provide guidance by modeling, we develop emotional regulations among our students. Tinuturuan natin sila na magkaroon ng stress resistance, optimism, and emotional control. So, halimbawa, nag-study ang bata, hindi niya naintindihan mga bagay-bagay, parents, upuan niyo mga anak ninyo. Hindi sinasabi, bahala kayo dyan. May mga teacher kayo, binayaran namin yan, silang bala sa inyo. Hindi pwede. Teachers, especially during this pandemic, are outside your house. And they cannot immediately identify stumbling blocks of your kids. So kayo po nandoon, you might as well sit down. Now, if you're not able to address that, you may want to contact teachers and ask them for guidance how to address such problems. Okay? So guidance pa rin ang importante doon. Okay? Next would be provide collaboration engaging with others. So dahil binigyan mo ng task, pwedeng gawin ng mga bata ay sinong katulong ng mga ng mga ano niya ang mga responsibilities for household chores, sino ang kanyang kasama dito? Si yaya ba? Si lolo? Si lola? And so on. Huwag naman mag-isa muna siya. So dapat merong kasama muna. So that would be collaboration and engaging with others. So through supervision of other adults surrounding our students, they gain and acquire the virtues and the values of empathy, trust, cooperation, assertiveness, trust, vigor, and energy. Why? May kasama sila. Ang mahirap sa mga bata ay doing things on their own and they do not know what to do. Kahit nag-observe pa nila yan sa kanilang mga magulang o sa mga teachers, they need guidance at first how to do it. Kasi of course, wala namang first time na alam mo that. So let's empathize on our students and our kids' experience on that. So in short, when children have had opportunities to develop executive functions and self-regulation skills successfully, both individuals and society experience lifelong benefits. Why? Because if our students have developed executive functions, especially in the early age, they will have good school achievement. They have positive behaviors. They have good health. They are more responsible for their own health. They have healthy relationships, and then of course, eventually, when they find work, they will be successful with their own chosen careers. With that, thank you very much. But you do not hesitate to go online. There are a lot of researches, a lot of testimonies from parents about developing executive functions at home. You can go through the YouTube. There are a lot of parents talking about how their lives change and how their kids change their behavior because of executive functions imposed at home. Thank you very much. And by next week, we'll have another set of series of trainings that will become more of helping our teachers focus more on intervention programs. Am I right with that, Michelle? So next week po, iba na po ang focus natin. So hindi na natin focus pa how to help parents, adjust to the demands of their kids learning at home. By next week po, balik po tayo sa focus of teacher. How do we help children and students who are struggling on certain areas of their academics? So intervention programs po ang series natin next week. So I hope to see you next week. Thank you very much and good day.
So there we have it. And we have a Vival Group Incorporated. I would like to thank you, Brother Ricky, for being our speaker this afternoon, for providing our viewers an insightful, eye-opener learning session. It is truly an honor to have you always with us, Brother Ricky. And to all our Kawibal viewers, all thanks to you for your continuous patronage to our daily learning session. Just like what our speaker mentioned, we'll have a new series next week. Kindly stay tuned. Muli maraming salamat at magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Stay safe, bye!